Big D Entertainment, in association with Dipsy Doodle Productions, presents the Dave Holly Hour. Brought to you by the Sky Lounge and Tea, Xcel Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Hop Brewery Tours, and Jesse Moffett Entertainment. The Dave Holly Hour features Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment Conversations and has been recognized by the Sioux Falls Stage Awards with a special distinction for promoting the arts. A true lover of arts, entertainment, good food, and fun times, including an occasional Jack Daniels. Okay, so a few Jack Daniels. Here he is, Dave Holly.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for listening no matter how, no matter when, no matter where. It is greatly appreciated. I am Dave Holly, and thanks for joining the show. Guess who's joining the show today? We've got a great lineup. Andrew Reinartz and Sarah Larson from Arts South Dakota are going to be joining us, telling us about that great organization, how it works, what it does. And Andrew will talk a little bit about some of his solo stuff as well. And then actor, singer, creative, the delightful Alexondrea Thong Vahn. Oh, my goodness. You know what? She alone is worth popping a cork over.
Time to grab your favorite beverage, lift it high, and toast it to being Thursday, a.k.a. Weekend Eve.
Hey, the weekend isn't around the corner, it's here!
So long, hump day in your frumpy way. We say hello to Thursdays with opening nights. The weekend is near and we can see the bright lights. Yes, Thursday, you're so hearty, we can't wait for Friday, so a day early, we start the party.
All right, depending upon the time of day that you're listening, it's going to depend on what is in your hand to toast with. Maybe it's the piece of toast itself. Otherwise, orange juice, water, coffee, milk, a beer, a cocktail, champagne, whatever it might be. Lift it high, and this week we are going to toast the teachers. And I don't just mean all teachers. I mean arts and entertainment teachers of public and private schools and those that teach private lessons. I tell you, we have so many that have already been on this show and so many yet to come that are going to be on this show that teach private lessons. So always keep that in mind. And if you're wondering who you might want to have for a particular type of instruction, whether it's piano, whether it's sax, or whether you want to do drums, or whether you want to do art, you want to do, the visual arts, or you want to have somebody teach them about, let's say, photography or drama, any and all, you can always email davehollyhour@gmail.com, and you can then take a look around at everything, but you can send that to email. You can also go to the website, davehollyhour.com. All of the episodes are there. We're still in the infancy stages of that particular website, but I'm happy with it. And there's a lot of benefits to it. You can search those people as well. So, excellent. Toasting to the teachers of arts and entertainment. And the Weekend Eve Toast has been brought to you by Hop Brewery Tours. No matter what brewery in Sioux Falls is your favorite, Hop Brewery Tours lets you and your friends choose any or all of the 8 local breweries, plus they recently added Glacial Lakes Distillery, if you'd like a little stronger spirit for yourself. Best part, they take care of that driving in a very cool van. It sits up to 6. Take the adult family along. Book your private tours online at alehopbrewerytours.com. If you're already out and about on a weekend, hop on one of their public tours. For more info, call 605-777-2183. That is 605-777-2183. Take it from others. They'd recommend the tour to anyone, beer lover or not, and they had a great experience. Hop Brewery Tours, where micro fans meet micro brews. You know what comes right after that toast? We pop a cork and then we play the timpani so that we can give somebody some props. Honorable mention. Honorable mention going out this week to the first place winners at a costume party at a great party that we attended. Had some fun on Saturday night over Halloween weekend. Our friends Lisa and Tom Anderson came along with us, and they took home first prize for their costumes. Tom is a plumber by trade, and sure enough, last Saturday, he posts on Facebook that after 29 years of being a plumber out in the field, well, you know, in the toilet range and so forth, not necessarily out in the field, but being in that trade business, he is now moving on and becoming a city plumbing inspector. So congratulations, first of all, to Tom, and as well to Tom and Lisa, because she went as a clogged up toilet, and naturally he went as a plumber. So congratulations to them. They looked awesome. And then some guy that has a podcast came in second. Yeah, he went as his grandfather clock. But congratulations again, Tom and Lisa, you did a great job, and boy, did we have some fun that night as well. All right, so that's that. We've gotten everything we need to take care of. Now we just need to tell you what you can look forward to the rest of the way out. Later on in the show, Alexondrea Thong Vahn. But up next, from South Dakota, I always want to start it with South Dakota. From Arts South Dakota, it's Sarah Larson and Andrew Reinartz on the Dave Holly Hour.
Sure, they have darts, and you've heard me talk about how ruggedly handsome the trivia host is, but all caps fun never stops at the Sky Lounge and Tea. And fun is best had with your friends enjoying live entertainment, as in live and local. Yeah, the Sky Lounge believes in giving you the best bands, solo artists, and comedians from the area. The Neo Johnsons, Elizabeth Hunstead, Skylar Volks, as well as many others. And a great staff will make sure you enjoy your fun at the Sky Lounge in Tea, South Dakota.
Dr. Perry Langston and Dr. Corey Tooney know excellence is in you. That's why they provide you with excellent care at Xcel Chiropractic, improving your overall health in spirit, body, mind, and will. Get results the natural way. Arrange a consultation, 605-332-9235 or xcelchiros.com. Excellent care for excellent people. Xcel Chiropractic, located at 4309 South Racket Drive in Sioux Falls.
It's another Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment conversation on the Dave Holly Hour.
Welcome back, everyone. Always a pleasure to bring you not just new artists, but also artists we've not talked to before, and organizers of the arts and people that are involved in the arts. And today we're going to talk to half of the staff, at least, of Arts South Dakota. I always want to put South Dakota first. You know that,
Yeah.
Andrew? It's been one of those. I always have to look at it, and then I also have to remember that when I'm going to the website, there's two S's.
Yep.
Arts South Dakota.org.
We've gotten real good at that with telling people our email addresses.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Andrew Reinartz is Community Development Director, and Communications Coordinator Sarah Larson, who's new to the club.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank
Glad
you.
to hear that, and it was a pleasure. I met you underneath your little tent, or whatever they call them now, when you were doing the outdoor exhibit at Sidewalk Arts Festival for the Pavilion. And we got to chatting, and I hadn't had Andrew on yet. I'd had Jimmy on. And it's like, well, I wanted to have Andrew on for a number of reasons anyway, because I run into him down here at our wine bar quite often because he plays so much. And then I thought, well, why don't we just have the two of you on together?
Excellent.
And I'm glad we could find a date to make it happen. So, Andrew, we'll start with you, being the old pro then. Tell us, remind us about Arts South Dakota, what it does, and then specifically, what it is that your job and position entails.
Yeah, so Arts South Dakota is the statewide arts advocacy, support, and education organization. So we're the 501c3 nonprofit kind of grassroots arts organization. Our real role is to really provide support and networking for individual artists and arts organizations, and kind of be that connecting tissue for the creative community across across the whole state. The South Dakota Arts Council is the granting organization. They're a division of the Department of Tourism, their state government, and so it's nice to be able to partner with them quite a bit, because we can do a lot more advocacy and just kind of a lot more service than state government sometimes can do. And so we're able to really reach into the full breadth of the state and find those just really amazing creative communities in every corner of South Dakota.
And we have that. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, very much so.
That's the thing over the 2 years that I've been doing this show, is just the fact that how much is out there and how much of it is untapped as well. Now, in terms of what you do as the community director, what's your involvement, and how do you get the communities involved as well?
Yeah, so about half of my role is on the fundraising side of things for our organization as a nonprofit. But then the other part of that is that kind of community development. So it's in particular, I work with the community arts councils quite a bit. We have a pretty vibrant network of community arts councils across the state. Over 30 are still incorporated, and most of those are still active, including Leola just started an arts council 2 years ago. Lemon started an arts council during the pandemic, and have been having great success. And so, it's these kinds of community organizations that really provide the hub for their communities, their regions. And so we try to work to bring them together, to learn from each other. We're such a broad state. I tell the story a lot, but I took a trip about 7-8 years ago where I circled the state of South Dakota. So I took the southern highways and I camped my way up through the Black Hills, and then I ended up tying in with the highway up in Hettinger, North Dakota, and then heading east and seeing my fiance, who was living in Aberdeen still at the time, and figured out that if you take that circle, stretch it out in one long line, you could drive one way to Austin, Texas, or one way to Buffalo, New York.
Wow.
So it just really hit home to me.
Speaking of Buffalo, did you go through Buffalo at all?
I went through Bison, but I didn't go through Buffalo.
But not through Buffalo.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, so it just really hit home how huge geographically this state is. And I think we have more creative people per capita, but we're often so isolated from each other. If you're running an arts council somewhere, your closest colleague might be 2 hours away.
True.
So it's hard to just commiserate, let alone learn from each other and develop and grow.
Yeah, but I'm sure through the as I like to call it, the pandemic, that a lot of these people also learned to grow technologically, to stay together, though,
Very much so.
And that probably is just going to expand on networking for you guys as well, I would assume.
Yeah, very much so. It really accelerated that. Ironically, we had just started a monthly Zoom meeting with a couple of these different networks of organizational leaders right before the pandemic hit. And so then we were kind of already set up to really ramp that up. And that was, so helpful, because as people are trying to navigate all the possible grants and relief options, to be able to have this network of people to bounce ideas off of, and who's had success, who's had issues, how can we learn from each other? Because there's just so much talent and knowledge, but when we're all so isolated, it's hard to share it.
Sarah, now do you put into words everything that Andrew just said, and you spread it out?
I try. I just, to Andrew's point too, just building community across the state, it's been a really important and grand journey. I think I've learned a ton already being here, and it is a state that I love and left for quite a while. So coming back and finding and relearning the corners of the state, there is a lot of artistry and a lot of community tucked away in these all over across the state in these tiny corners. So I think Andrew's done an amazing job bringing these the arts councils together and bridging that community too with each other. And it will be interesting to see as we progress and move forward through this pandemic and where we are now and kind of where that leads us, because I think the state being so broad, I think we are lucky that we were able to get online and jump in that space together and protect that. So we'll see. I think there's going to be a balance of both.
And I was just going to jump in and say that one thing too that I really like with having Sarah on board is that not only is she new to Arts South Dakota, but she and her family recently moved home from San Francisco, coming back to South Dakota. And so, for some of us, Jim Spears and myself and Sherry Cosell on the team, we're all longtime South Dakotans, born and raised, and have been around the state with music, with different educational programs, with a lot of other nonprofits we've worked with. So it's really been fun to see South Dakota through kind of a newcomer's eyes again, and there's sometimes where there's things that you're like, you almost, I don't know, not that any of us were jaded or anything, but still there's some stuff that you forget is as amazing as it is until you see it through kind of a new person's eyes.
Well,
again.
true. And that's, I guess, kind of the question that I want to ask her. How long were you going for?
20 years.
20 years, okay.
Well, 25, but 20 years in California.
I grew up in the area down in Rock Rapids, and Sioux Falls was the big city to go to on your first date, stuff like that, when you finally got to drive, all of that. And I remember, first of all, coming to Sioux Falls, and, we had the arena. And then, I found out about the Coliseum, and I went to see the symphony there one time. And
hopefully not the day it collapsed, right?
No.
Okay, good.
Long before that. But I'm sitting there going, okay, it's a bigger town than Rock Rapids by far, but at that time it was only about somewhere between 60 and 80,000. Now we're at 198,000.
Yeah.
And we've got the pavilion. We've got all these small places that are venues to play at. And
theaters.
The theaters and the theater groups and organizations that have all come about. So I've seen it from an explosive position of when I finally actually moved to Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
About 25 years ago, and to see what's come about with the sculpture walk and everything, and the restaurants and bars that have art in it and entertainment in it and so forth. What was your thoughts when you came back here then?
It's so interesting. I think we would always come back for holiday and in the summer, and as the years go on, you're kind of in your in this kind of small space of time and family, and I wasn't really seeing the city as much, or Sioux Falls as much, as exploring it, just going out or seeing all of the things. So for me, coming home, it was always seeing family and spending time together and taking drives. And I started seeing the cities spill out, growing into these neighboring towns, seeing what's happening. There were more lights downtown, more, the streets and busy and traffic, things like this. So I think when it came time, after being in the Bay Area for so long, it was really a time to make a kind of a life decision to find a little bit more balance and where were we going to move. And I think, my husband is a California kid, born and raised, had been back with me to visit, and just really thought this might be a really great place for us to come back to. We have a 6-year-old. And so for me, it was like seeing Sioux Falls through his eyes, right? Fresh eyes. So when we really started thinking about it, was really digging into what is happening in South Dakota. And I think seeing that there is vibrancy and an arts community and growth and the want and the hope for that, and our people here, it felt like a really good decision, and time together, time to nurture that, time to grow. So we did it.
You moved from SF to SF.
I know. Yeah, exactly. And it's been a really, really good experience. I think moving, probably at any time in your life, and as an adult and a parent, and back to the town that I grew up in and had been, had left and had been away from for so long. There's, a shift and a transition, but I certainly meeting everyone, Andrew, Jim, and Sherry at Arts South Dakota, was just a no-brainer. It was just, I remember coming away from my first conversation with Jim, and then, everybody else too after that. It was just, I need to have them in my life somehow, one way or the other, however this goes. So just feel really excited to be a part of it. Like home.
Right.
Feels like home. So.
Well, we're recording right here in the R Wine Bar.
Yeah.
And Jimmy is part of a reason as to why we have the R Wine Bar, because Ricardo and he have been friends for a long time. And he says, Jimmy, I'm thinking about starting a wine bar. You think we could get some live music? And it's just exploded, getting jazz, and I applaud that because I love jazz, and live music on just so many different occasions. And this is a great example of that growth and the explosion of arts here in South Dakota, and specifically here in Sioux Falls. And I guess I wanted to ask your perspective on that for coming back. And then also to kind of tie in with Andrew, you had said something about, we maybe get a little jaded. And, sometimes when we're in that growth, we don't necessarily see it until all of a sudden we go, holy crap, we have this? And, all of a sudden we're applauding ourselves and we forget, how much hard work went into it.
That's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And just, now I think when you drive anywhere here, there, like you had said, restaurants and galleries and spaces for people to visit art and explore and listen and hear and go to a show. And I've been able to do some costuming in town with the kids theater at DAPA.
Oh,
At
excellent.
high school. And it's been really incredible. And I often have to remind myself that sometimes in a smaller community, you're able to maybe do a few more things in the day. You can go to a show and the grocery store and pick up from school and that's been really incredible because there's, able to get all of those in a day. So
That's fantastic. Andrew, as you were traveling around, making the big circle of South Dakota and getting in contact with all these arts organizations and community arts and so forth, what surprised you the most? Obviously, somebody starting an arts council in the midst of the pandemic was something, but, what else made you go, wow?
A couple of things. One of which on the individual artist side was right at the beginning of the pandemic. We were very lucky to get some. We're not normally a granting organization. We don't disperse funding, but we got some funding from some private foundations to provide some very small short-term relief gifts directly to individual artists to keep that arts economy moving. And we plotted it all out on a map after the first two rounds, and it's everywhere. So not only is it just that there are creative people, but there are people making their living as artists, whether it's visual artists, performers, culture bearers, especially for a lot of the Native American communities. First Peoples Fund did a really interesting study almost 10 years ago now where a significant portion of Native families make a large income from arts activities, whether that's traditional beadwork, quill work, whatever that is, whether it's oil painting, anything. There's just a lot of art happening, especially in reservation lands in South Dakota, and seeing. Even for us that had been embedded in this, I'd been with Arts South Dakota for a couple of years, it even blew us away just how many people are really making a go at it in every corner. It's not just Sioux Falls, Rapid City, Aberdeen. It's everywhere. And then the other one is just, I think that we often forget how much our identity as a state or as communities really is tied to the arts. So DeSmit, it's the Laura Ingalls Wilder connection, and it's also the Harvey Dunn plein air, and now you look at Falkton with their murals and the grain elevator mural, and they've really created an identity around it, and it makes it. I used to work with a film production company doing everything except the actual film work, and we stole a line from an investor in one of the pieces who said that when the only stories you hear are told about elsewhere, you think life is only lived elsewhere. And so art, whether it's whatever form it takes, is one of those things that creates, whether it's bad stories, whatever it is, but you realize, wait, there's life lived here. I can see myself making some sort of a life here, and it's not always I got to go over there, or I've got to go across the border. It's like, no, I've got life to live here. And I think that a lot of, especially rural communities, finding that identity is a really key way to keep people there and growing.
Yeah. And the pandemic also made everybody in art stretch themselves and learn new things and adapt and make new art. Who'd ever thought a few years ago of going to a show in a parking lot lit up by headlights on vehicles?
Incredible. Yeah.
And just amazing. And what the big word that comes out so often, almost every interview, is collaboration.
Yes.
Not competition.
Yep.
This is, and I think that I want to tie into something you've talked about already with the whole state. Many years ago, when I was working on the air up in Brookings, the big tornado went through Spencer. And one of the things I mentioned on there was how, a lot of people that don't live in South Dakota will say, oh, from the big city of South Dakota, make fun of it and so forth. Well, go ahead. Because you know what? It didn't matter the fact that it was just Spencer that got hit by a tornado. All of South Dakota felt like they got hit by it, and everybody pitched in.
Yep.
And I see that happening in the arts communities now, too, is that we're seeing so much and so many great positive things happening. And I guess I want to get the take from both of you as to what do we still have to do? What's on the horizon for us in arts?
Continue to build, I think, on those relationships across the state, across the board, within here too. As the communications coordinator, I'm trying to support where I can and connect where I can and make sure, we're packing our newsletter full of, important information that we need to get to the people, of our events that we're sharing that are all across the state. It's the only arts calendar for the state. So I think my relationships, or I'm trying to continue to build those relationships so that people know that there is support for them and a voice and a partner collaborating together. Yeah. I was thinking too, when we did the happy hours in Sisseton, when we went there, and I had never been, and what a really awesome experience that was, and to be there in person and see their excitement and what has come through this, and to share it outside of their community. I think we're gonna hopefully do more of those too. I think that's important.
Yeah, I think it's really important for people just in general. Another thing the pandemic, I think, did, and not to always talk about the pandemic,
right,
but was sometimes you don't realize what you're missing till you don't have it anymore.
Very true.
And I think there were a lot of people that kind of, as soon as they couldn't go out and see local performers, they couldn't go to local theater, they couldn't go to galleries, it really hit home how important that is. And I think it's so difficult. I'm the primary offender. If I'm not gigging, I'm probably at home, especially now with the 7-month-old baby, and I'm like, this is my time at home.
Who got to celebrate her first Halloween?
Yes, and it was wonderful. So baby cool. Avocado is the best. She has avocado toys on her car seat that she loves, so we're just going to lean into this.
There you go. Run with that theme.
Yeah. But we, I think it's just for everybody, supporting each other as fellow creatives, but then, for the general community to go, it's kind of like shopping local. It's like go to a local store instead of a big box store where you can. And same thing with art, with creativity. These are the people in your community telling the stories of your life together as a community. And when you can support those people, it really makes a much more vibrant life for everybody. And so really thinking local and supporting that local arts culture as well is just really important.
And I think it's the mission behind everything we do. The intention and every decision made is to support everything you just said. Really together. And
that's one thing I really like about Arts South Dakota, getting to work with the group, is we're not, we present things like the State Arts Conference, but we're not an arts presenter. We're not a concert association. We're not, and so
we're not booking anything.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So we really get to just celebrate the great work happening everywhere, and not have to be worried about, okay, well, we can't do this because we're going to step on their toes. We can't, it's like we can just say, hey, look at all this great stuff happening everywhere, and here's how we're going to try to support it.
As an artist yourself, when you're out gigging, how important is Arts South Dakota to you as an artist?
Really important, if nothing else, at a very base level, we're able to advocate for funding for the arts, both for the Arts Council and the grants that they do. Actually, just the JAS Quintet was just with Jamie Lynn out in Rapid City last Thursday. It was really wonderful, but we wouldn't be able to do a lot of that without funding from the State Arts Council. We have a touring arts grant that basically makes it so that we can drive the 5 hours out to Rapid City and stay overnight and do a single performance and make it financially feasible to do all that travel. So at a very basic level, that's really important. And then secondarily, just the public awareness, whether it's the arts calendar, the newsletter, it gets people to know what's happening in town, because everyone's attention's so fractured. It's really hard to know, are people on Facebook, are people on this, are people on that? How do we reach people? So when there's kind of a clearinghouse, it really helps get the word out.
I was just thinking, a friend had posted a group Halloween costume, and they were holding these little frames with Zoom fatigue and little phrases as a group walking around. Anyway, I just was thinking of that. Sorry.
All right. So speaking of Halloween, we know that your daughter went as an avocado.
Yes.
What did you go as?
Unfortunately, this year I was costumeless. I feel bad. I really honestly feel guilty. My wife would probably dress up in some sort of a costume every day if she could, I honestly think. And I feel bad because not that I'm curmudgeonly about it, but just I feel like that's not where my creativity lies. So I will jump in if someone has a great idea and they want me to put on a coat or a hat or something. I will jump right in, but I'm not the most creative with it. I have a feeling that my coworker here is on the opposite end.
She said that she was doing some costuming for people. So
you would expect these things, right? But I just was saying this with my husband Jeff last night. I think because we love fashion and we love to get dressed up and we love that maybe putting a costume on. I mean, the costume I wore last night had a little variation, but it's something that I would wear on a Tuesday.
Any day that ends in Y.
Yeah.
So, but my 6-year-old this year, she wanted to be a witch, which, we went for it, and she really tried to, but
embrace the whole works.
Whereas for me, I did a piece that Wes Eisenhower filmed for Sioux Falls, and so during the interview they said, we're going to be on the Great Hall stage with minimal light, so maybe don't wear black or gray shirts. And I went, okay, that limits about 99.9% of my wardrobe.
Yeah, especially when you're told so often, dress in stage black.
Yeah, exactly.
Andrew, you, of course, are known around here for having played with the Haig Brothers. You play a lot of jazz with a variety of groups that play here, especially at Our Wine. And you do play the electric, but you are also the man that carries the biggest piece of luggage in because you've got the old stand-up. Yep,
and I never got this T-shirt, but the International Society of Bassists, that's kind of the international group of upright bass players, had a T-shirt that just said, "No, I don't wish I played the flute." And so but yeah, no, it's definitely, here's the other thing. I was really glad the first date with my now wife. Now I have a tiny kind of half SUV thing, but for years, high school, college, beyond, I had to drive a minivan. It's the only thing I could fit my upright bass, my electric bass, my amps, all my gear. So when I picked her up for a first date, she didn't even blink and just jumped in the minivan, didn't even ask. I thought, okay, there's some
That's
potential.
A positive.
Yeah, okay, we're a good start.
It's a similar story, right, Jeff? With all the DJ gear and all my bolts of fabric. I mean, here we are cruising around in the minivan. Yeah. But it's good. It carries all the things. I know. I know.
What made you decide, I want to play the big stand-up? Instead of just, doing what most kids our age would have done. You're younger than me, I know, but, probably would have picked up the electric and just started playing.
Yeah, I got really lucky for a number of reasons. One is I had a supportive family, the whole family, especially my mother, who played guitar. And she tells stories of me coming over when she was playing acoustic guitar and trying to strum the strings as soon as I could crawl. I would crawl over and just start pawing at it. And she was really supportive, took piano lessons. And then also just where I was lucky is that there was a really vibrant orchestra in the schools in Sioux Falls. So in 4th grade, you could go in and kind of test out some of those string instruments, see what you wanted. And I don't know why, but instantly, maybe if someone had put an electric bass in my hands, I would have felt the same. But just that low end, I was just like, this feels right. I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. And I was a tall kid, so I'm sure they kind of encouraged me that direction. But then it was shortly after I started playing, and ironically, my now father-in-law helped my family pick out my first electric bass. So that's a great story too. But and then started playing electric bass about a year or two later, and then I love the fact that I've been able to have that parallel track because it's between the two. I remember in college playing with the South Dakota Symphony on a weekend, and then going and playing with my kind of underground punk hardcore band the next night. So it was just being able to do both those kind of worlds.
Exactly.
And it's very few instruments you can do that with.
Yeah, very true.
Well, and when I started and I had met, my coworkers, my new coworkers, and I had, I knew they played music and they had talked about it, but I had no idea. I know now they are excellent. But
that's right.
just
the
humble
quality
and
of it
gracious
is.
way
off
up
the
there.
charts.
No doubt about that.
Yeah.
And so how much does it weigh?
I should know that. I don't. It's as much as it's heavy, it's just awkward. It's
Right.
just one of those. It's like carrying a couch where you're like, I mean, you can almost do it with one or two people, but how do you fit it through that door? So you kind of learn these. Like, I think I have now opened doors with every part of my body other than arms. I've found ways, heads, elbows, feet.
Sporting.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But at least cases have advanced.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. This really thick plush. I don't use a flight case though, because those, the last time I priced out a flight case, it was more than my base. And weighs about 150 pounds just for the case. So I'm like,
Okay. So you said a base.
Yep.
Your base.
Yep.
That's the only one you have? for
I
the
have
stand-up?
only one stand-up bass. Now, I do have a new travel stand-up bass that actually Josh Rick from Sioux Falls, an amazing guitar builder, luthier.
I can't think of the word they have for it, for the string, the guys that make strings and so forth.
Luthier.
Luthier,
Yeah,
thank
there it
you.
is. Yep.
Yeah.
And just an unbelievable artist and craftsman and artist in his own right, and a great musician. He plays with a number of groups. But he built a kind of, it looks like he took an upright bass and stuck it in the dryer and it just sort of shrunk up. So
it was made out of wool.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the same neck, same length. He modeled it on my bass, so it feels very similar, but then the body is only about 1 foot wide and about 4 inches deep. So you have to electrify it, but it's already come in handy. I've used it for a couple of shows down in Omaha, and to be able to basically, it takes up not very much more space than my electric bass. But I have just the one upright bass, and I have it insured, and I need to get that renewed because it's kind of one of those things that's like, I'll never be able to afford this again. So let's not destroy this one.
I asked that question because so many times it's always fun to ask guitar players, especially. Well, how many guitars do you have? You mean that I tell my wife about?
Yeah, 100%. Because then I have the one upright bass, and then I have about 6 guitars and about 7 electric basses. So that's where kind of the acquisitive collector side comes in.
And my wife always says I have gear envy anytime I'm at a live show somewhere.
Yep.
Oh, you want that, don't you?
Yep.
All right. And the final 2 questions I always love to ask, since we haven't heard from Sarah in a little bit, I'll ask her first, then we'll come back to Andrew to wrap things up, is when you're not involved in the arts community, what do you like to be entertained by?
That's hard. I feel like art's kind of, it just kind of seeps in everywhere. But I am super entertained by my daughter. I think she is my constant teacher, and she's really funny. And 6, there's so many feelings and so many thoughts and so many emotions, and she's skateboarding. I just feel like she is my teacher.
Right.
And she's excited. She's excited about so many things. So I think when we talk about looking through a fresh lens, I see her outside sledding, and I couldn't wait to get away from the snow. And, I see my husband with a snowblower, and he's so fired up about it, So I think it's family, because it's always been super important, but I feel like we have more time together to do our projects.
And then the final question for you, that is any other hobbies?
Oh, well, I really love to sew. I mean, I think that's really what I do in my spare time when I can. It's sort of like a journal for me, and costuming has just been really just incredible to work with the kids and learn. I just feel like it's kind of where my heart is too. Yeah.
All right. Andrew, you're going to get the same 2 questions.
Yeah.
So when you're not part of the entertainment scene, what do you like to be entertained by?
Yeah, that's the same thing
like-
where it's like, it's so hard. It's like it all comes in. But I would say I was surrounded for a long time by film nerds. And I think that some of that seeped in with me. Not enough, but quite a bit. So a lot of film, and then working with a film production company for a while, including when they created a couple of full-length feature films. It was interesting to see that whole process. That and just reading. I mean, I worked at 2 bookstores over the course of my life, and employee discounts mean that I have a library that I will never get through. I buy 3 books and read 1. So I think that would be the thing. And then my other hobbies, and probably the other part of my life, just generally speaking, the outdoors. I think that's one thing I love about South Dakota, getting out West River into the Black Hills. And I mean, my wife and I named our daughter Sylvan for a reason, both as a reference to the lake in the Black Hills, but it's the Greek word for, kind of the woods, and Sylvanus was the Greek god of the woods. And for us, that time in nature is really refilling for me, especially, I always wish I was either a poet or a composer or a visual artist where I could just go off into a shack for a few months and emerge from a cocoon with some art. But for me, my art side has always been collaborative and improvisatory and working with other people. And so then that really refilling time is just out hugging a tree every so often.
Fantastic. And of course, you live in a great neighborhood too.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
All right. Sarah Larson, thank you so much. It's been
wonderful.
a pleasure getting to know you a little bit more. Andrew, always great to see you. Yeah. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you here at our wine bar soon because you play quite often. And of course, big things coming up as well. But thank you both for your time and for telling us more about Arts South Dakota. Remember, it's artssouth.dakota.org. So there's 2 S's in there. Yep. And it is one of the better calendars you're going to find for what's going on around the state. But please help them out any way that you can. It's a wonderful organization, and so glad that you were able to spend some time and tell us more.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having us.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be back with more of the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Hi, my name is Jesse Moffett, and I'm not a piano player. I'm a comic magician and hypnotist. I've been performing for over 20 years. I've performed at many events, corporate events, holiday parties, post-prom parties, graduation parties, state and county fairs, festivals, just about anything you can imagine. The funniest thing about the Magic Act is that I use a ton of audience participation, and that can make things really interesting. Put it down the front of your shirt. Stop being so my hand won't follow it. The best thing about the hypnosis show is that the volunteers and their imaginations really make it a blast.
Holy crap, dude, did you see what you just did? You could do that possibly to girls.
For booking information, go to Jesse Moffett Entertainment on Facebook. That's JESSEMOFFITT. Or call 605-929-0964.
He's a bit flirtatious, but most of all, fun. Here is Dave Holly.
Welcome back, everybody. I know I kind of intro this every time the same way, but it is truly a pleasure to bring you new artists, new creatives, people that maybe you've heard of before, never seen or heard, or maybe you said, wow, that person was really great in that play. I wonder what she's really like. That's what I said about Alexondrea Thong Vahn. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. And you were great in Blood Brothers.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, I tell you, and what an emotional musical.
Yeah.
We don't think of musicals being dramas too much. We try to think of them more as lighthearted and so forth. Mm-hmm. But this thing was powerful. And you were the mother of the 2 sons, the biological mother of the 2 sons.
Yeah.
And for those that missed it, we'll give you just a short synopsis. She gives up one at the beginning, and then eventually they all come back together. But it's tragedy that takes place. And that final scene when you're on your knees and you take their hands and put them together, the flood came on.
Oh,
and then wanted to go back and go to the green room area to see everybody that I knew that was in the musical. And you were all in tears yet. And everybody back there's in tears.
Yeah, it was a good one.
That was just so powerful and amazing. But for a great job of acting. Absolutely phenomenal. In
Thank
fact,
you so much.
One of the things that my wife and I said as we came out of there was like, if you had to pick a best actor in that show, who would you go with? What a loaded cast.
It was strong.
Yeah, very strong.
It was strong.
Yeah.
And I think we really fed off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely got stronger as it went, as shows do. but emotionally stronger.
Right.
And weaker in parts as it went. Like we were able to really be there emotionally together. And to have so many people on board with that side of a performance, especially in like, I know they're now like Premier Playhouse, but a community theater.
Right, it is a community theater.
Oh my
regardless.
gosh.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was amazing for there were so many just, emotional moments and connections on stage with characters. And then that honestly, the truth was bleeding into and onto the stage because we really made a connection and relationship with all of each other. And so we really were able to share the love and care for each other truly on stage as performers, but as our characters, as well.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
You could tell that. And it was just amazing in that regard. But let's talk a little bit about what all you have done besides being in Premier Playhouse.
Oh, wow.
I know you've been in Good Night Theater Collective.
Yes.
And which is one of our absolute favorites. We talk about that as being one of the shining stars of how arts and entertainment in the Sioux Falls community has grown.
Yes. Or like, I really look at them to see like what's ahead.
True.
To be honest,
Yeah.
They're such a great group and company that is doing so many different things, bringing musicals that we know and then new works.
Right.
And, they have now, I think this is their sixth season that we're in. So I think, we're gearing up to, they've been around a while. They've established themselves. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what comes.
I do too.
I know Little Shop is the biggest production-wise that they've ever done as far as scenic. I've been working a lot with that, even though I'm not on stage. I've been helping so much of it backstage, which has been a really cool and different experience for me to still be able to like be involved in that way.
Yeah, and I know you've been doing a lot of painting in that, especially.
Yes,
so
yes.
that's looking forward to that, and that premieres here on Thursday night of this week, and looking forward to it. Have our tickets and ready to be there.
We're going Friday.
Are you?
Pumped.
Okay. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Always get excited because it's so fun to see a small part of our actors get together and make a collective. And I shouldn't say small because, if I'm not mistaken, there have been, between the collective itself and guest performers, there's been well over 60 now.
Oh, sure.
That have all been entitled to be on that stage. And just a great part of our community and what is growing. And what's been fun has been seeing, as you mentioned, the musicals we know. The cabarets are just outstanding.
My gosh.
And all the different themes that they've had for those. And then the original stuff that Luke has written. And this past one, the Reality Wives, I have not laughed much more than that in a theater before. That was incredible. And I told Luke several times, it's like, that's your best writing to date.
Oh, really? I'm so glad. I haven't seen some of his originals, so that was one I did see. So I'm really excited you say that.
Yeah, and now he's going to have another one coming up soon. So we look forward to that.
Yes, that's actually the next show I'm in.
I was just going to say, so let's talk about what you're in next. Tell us what that would be.
It's Suspect, the most murder musical, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, on the second half of the title. Suspect, murder mystery. So I currently work at the Dinner Detective Murder Mystery Show in Sioux Falls.
I was going to talk about that as well.
So I am well versed in the murder mysteries. So I am pumped to do it as a musical, to do a Luke Tatchy original, have the writer in the room, originate a character. We do our table read on Sunday.
Oh
so
my!
I'm still surprised. I can't wait.
In what way are you surprised?
I'm surprised. I have no idea what to expect besides Suspect, murder mystery.
So you love the title.
Yes.
But you obviously auditioned back when they had auditions for their full season then, correct?
Yeah. And so I really enjoy how they set up their audition process. You kind of just do one and then they sign you up for which ones they want you in their season, and it's kind of like, oh, well, that was kind of easy, taken care of. So yeah, they have me booked till like April, the rest of their season. I'm their musicals.
Awesome.
So,
Congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah. So tell us what your character's name is. Do you at least know that before going into this first reading?
Oh my gosh. I want to say Delia. That could be incorrect. She is a Instagram influencer type.
Okay.
Yes. So
see, that's what I love about their originals, is we always get up-to-date material.
Yes. And I asked Luke, so any inspiration? You're a movie guru. Give me some movies. Inspiration for the show, for my character. And he said, Ingrid Goes West. It's a movie with Aubrey Plaza. And I'm the big floppy hat, sunglasses, Elizabeth Olsen character. Right. So it'll be a fun one. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to.
And then after that?
To read. Then after that, have a small break in February, and then we start working on Into the Woods.
Ooh, classic.
Where I will be the baker's wife.
Oh, my.
So I am quite excited. I've done the show twice. I have played Rapunzel and Jack's mother, and I cried like a baby off stage, like for the baby sound effect. Right. So I was also the baby. But I love that show. I want to do every single part, including the princes. Like, I want to play all the characters. So I'm excited to do it again with a different character, with a different group. And it's special in different ways each time.
Right. And you talked first of all about the murder mysteries that you're in and so forth. How many of those have you done? And those are fairly regular, aren't they?
Yeah. So generally they have about 2 to, as far as I've known, 5 shows a month, being both public and private. Usually I have 2 or 3 public shows a month. I generally have been working 2 a month. This month there was 3. But then, generally I work every weekend, which has been only 2 weekends. So I think totally I've done, maybe at least 10 shows.
Excellent.
At least 8.
Yeah.
8 or 10. And I've now played the murderer, several different victims. I've co-hosted. I've been a co-host / first to die. So you come in and everyone, right off the bat, you're supposed to like interrogate each other, and that character's supposed to be the most obvious. Like everyone in the room thinks it's you. Next thing they know, you come in, you're dead. They're like, oh my gosh, now who is it? Great way to start off a show.
Yeah, I've been in a handful of
really?
murder
You
mysteries.
have?
Yes,
oh my
I
gosh.
have. So I know
exciting.
how the format goes, and they are fun.
They're so fun.
Yeah,
we have another one coming up on Saturday, and this will be my first time being detective. So I'm nervous. It'll be fun.
Plainclothes detective?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. A little bit more, the Halloween show was this past weekend. So, I'll probably, my opposite is a male detective. And we're getting together later this week, but I think I'm going to play the more like aloof detective. But I don't know, there's a couple jokes or bits that I was like, okay, I want that side of it. So I'm ready. It'll be fun.
What got you started in acting and singing?
I didn't know how else to deal with my extrovertedness and emotions. I sang constantly as a child. Would just walk around the house singing. People would want me to stop. Like, shut that baby up. But I don't know. I talk to everyone all the time, like in the grocery store.
Do you sing along to the music in the grocery store?
If it's a really good one and it just comes out and it's like a reflex. And sometimes it's really bad because you don't even know it's happening and just kind of happens slow. And then all of a sudden you're rocking out.
And then you look
in the middle of the aisle
in the grocery store and see how many people don't believe in humor.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
They now think I'm crazy.
So at what age did you actually get up on stage?
Oh, wow. Kindergarten, I believe, was my very first production. There was a high school that was like the high school, maybe it was middle school, because it was affiliated with our school somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So high school would be way too old. It was the older kids. They needed a little baby bat. And I offered, they came to our classroom and asked if anyone wanted to be in the play or if there wouldn't be any people. And I was always just interested in everything.
Raised her hand.
Of course. So I barely, I just vaguely remember this, and maybe it's just a facade memory that I've made up from my mom telling me the story. Like one of those made up memories. But I remember standing there on stage and I found my mom in the crowd. I was just looking at her or trying to find her in the audience the entire time. And then I just waved. And then I remember looking at someone singing. And then I looked at my shoes and I was terrified. I was so extroverted, wanted to be there so bad. And I remember being up there just so small and scared. But yeah, and then, I don't know, I think later on, after that, my mom tried to put me in a Oscar Mayer Wiener commercial.
Commercial?
Yes.
Wow.
Brought me to the audition.
Uh-huh.
Because at this time we were living in Florida. Brought me to the audition. I would not perform. I wouldn't want to sit by myself. I'd in the chair next to her, and I was young kindergarten. Mm-hmm. I was not interested. So my mom tried. She tried to put me out there when I was younger.
So when did it click then?
Probably middle school, that gifted program.
Oh, talented gifted.
Talented gifted program. So I was the loud child. What do we do with the loud child? She reads so many books and then wants to talk about her books during the reading time. And it's you gotta read. Well, I've been reading. So talented gifted program, clearly. Yeah, I don't even remember my first role. I remember I had a solo in the song "The Cat Came Back."
Mm-hmm.
That was really fun. That was a good one.
What do you like most, singing or acting?
Ooh. As I was younger, singing.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't stop me. As I was older, college became acting. I became really just interested in human expression and the way people think about things and react, and the way that it happens in their minds and emotions and in their bodies. And so looking at the human experience and then acting just really clicked together once I started realizing that, they're intertwined. Yeah. I mean, of course they're intertwined, but once you step back and really pull it back to the basics, I really became interested in it. And so I think I really have blossomed since I've started there. Okay. And then now, again, I think the singing for me has just always been there. I like to sing.
Well, you said you don't necessarily remember the first role, but what's your most memorable role?
Ever?
Yeah, ever.
Oh, there's so many for so many different reasons.
Yeah.
Probably Marty in Circle Mirror Transformation by Annie Baker. It is a play. I did it in college. Annie Baker writes very eloquently, but she has her characters saying monologues for pages. So it was a huge challenge memorization-wise, and then to truly dig in your character. And then there was the show was about a theater group. So then there was monologues about other people, explaining other people in the group. So I would be Marty, my character. Hi, I'm Jessica, pretending to be the other character. So there was some layers.
Right.
It was very interesting, and we had to pretend to understand and portray that character as another one. So it was just to dig deep in that way, I think really started changing the thought process for me about the characters and how I could portray them and research more into them.
When it comes to being on stage, what thrills you about that?
Getting blinded by the light and not being able to see anything and just going with the words that you were given. You step into someone else's shoes. You're no longer yourself. Someone else's problems. I like that.
Yeah, true.
Not my own.
Escape.
Yes.
Yeah, escapism and so
I can be
forth.
someone else.
Yeah, you're right. Those lights go on then, and you know the audience is there. You hear them react, but not seeing them. And it's an interesting feeling, that's for sure. Who do you admire acting wise?
Ooh. Oh, there's several. Leonardo DiCaprio. But that's also Leonardo DiCaprio.
The crush comes through?
The crush comes through. So he's the one I first think of. But Meryl Streep.
Oh, strong.
She has range.
Yeah.
And then I think of range, and I think of people like Johnny Depp.
I think of that a lot, too, when I'm watching movies, especially... What I really enjoy is when I see somebody that started off basically in comedy and then become a great dramatic person and so forth. And, I was watching the documentary on Robin Williams the other day. And to see the work that he did in film after we all, knew about Mork from Mork and stand-up comedy and the specials on HBO and things, and it's like, wow. So how do you view yourself as a talent? What do you bring to the table?
Honesty and versatility.
Yeah.
I think.
Definitely noticeable in what you do. And, that ties into what we were just talking about with, when we see somebody that's been comedic and goes dramatic and so forth. And it doesn't happen in the reverse too often. No, because you will hear people talk about you want to die on stage, try comedy, after they've been dramatic and so forth. It's a different thing. Yeah, it's strange how it all works. But so, what do you hope to have happen yet in your professional career as an actor singer? What's ahead of you?
Oh man, I got goals. So now that we are in Sioux Falls, and I've kind of settled in. We haven't bought a house or anything, but I really like Sioux Falls. They have a lot to offer, great community. I've worked with several of the theater companies, so I feel like I'm slowly checking things off my list, but what else can I do? I would love to try stand-up comedy.
Well,
so that is so funny you say that. But
interestingly, I happen to know a few people involved in it.
I do as well.
Yeah.
But we'll see when that one particularly falls in place, in suit. I was going to try after Blood Brothers to take a moment and really flip my switch and then go do some comedy. Just go to open mic night, see what happens. I got jokes, I got things to say. But I actually got offered a gig as a jazz singer. Whoa, singing. Love singing, right?
And jazz.
Jazz singing with a jazz big band. Can't say no. So, I definitely shifted gears, and that popped up on my plate.
Had to kind of rearrange the priorities at the time.
But I have goals. I know I have dabbled in the theater, would love to dab and commercial around here a lot. It's pretty much what I do. But there's some really cool groups out there, or even just like Boss Comedy Club, Prairie Madness. I have not seen them yet. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So like things are happening and I'm just over here on the sidelines. I want to be involved. And I am involved, but in other spots.
Right. And there's still the involvement of, going to things like that as well.
I know.
Yeah. So that's, what do you like about, you mentioned that Sioux Falls is, basically becoming home for you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like about the community itself that lends itself to being in the arts and entertainment world?
It is a big enough community to have a strong array of arts and entertainment, but it's small enough to where I can be involved. I've been in a lot of different big cities where I was a part of a lot of different small projects, but I never got on a really big stage in a really big city. So to be able to be directly involved is something really special. And just the true community that we have here, the people that have also found home here, just the way they are, their personalities, they're just raw, honest, fun. They just are similar to me. They just are other creatives wanting to make art, wanting to find other people to create with. Hi, that's me too.
And the extrovert just raised her hand again. But you've worked in quite a few different places as well, and been involved in a lot of community type theaters and so forth. So what do you feel, where do we stand in terms of the community as a whole in its theatrical productions? I don't want you to rate or grade necessarily, but just, compared to where you've been, where are we?
Up and coming. And that's why I want to be here. I want to get involved while it's fresh, while it's small, because I can tell Sioux Falls is growing, and we are only continuing to get bigger within all of our communities or things to do. So the arts are growing, the theaters are growing, things are changing. I think COVID changed a lot of things for people. And now that 2020 has passed, 2020 is, 2021 is,
almost
God, almost done. So I think people are ready for change and something new. And I see that as here.
And the thing was, when the I call it the pandemic, when that came around, things kind of shut down for a bit, but all of a sudden, all the creatives got creative, started doing some of the
real ones.
things. Yeah,
the fake ones backed off.
Yeah, we ended up with the theater being outside, dance and collaboration with different groups with headlights on vehicles being the stage lights. We ended up seeing comedians doing stand-up on virtual with nobody to get reation out of their laughs.
Nobody to laugh.
Forth. So it created its own creation.
Yes.
And we withstood it. We made it. And here we are on the backside of it now. And it's been so fun going into theaters and seeing packed houses, going into theaters and seeing standing ovations that last several minutes. And it's just been so much of a great thing. And I think the word that I was thinking of when you were giving that answer earlier is opportunity. As the city does grow physically, population-wise, there's more opportunities.
Yes.
There are more theaters than there used to be. We have plays, experimental plays. We have poetry readings and so forth at a book co-op.
Yes.
There's been a singer-songwriter night there, and there's just so much available now, and I'm happy that you have become a part of it.
Yes, me too.
And are looking to become an even
too.
bigger part of it. So we'll kind of wrap things up. The traditional two questions I like. when you're not part of the arts and entertainment scene, what do you like to be entertained by?
Movies and TV, which I feel like is still arts and entertainment.
Oh, it is, but
It is.
it's
Painting.
in terms of you not being
Baking.
Baking, really?
Yes, I like to bake. My husband likes to cook. I like
Okay.
to bake. I try not to do it often, but we always have fresh banana bread in my house. I get bananas.
Would you like my address?
husband refuses to eat them, so I will make
See,
banana
my
bread.
wife won't eat bananas, and I love them. She won't even buy them. She won't even touch a banana. She does love banana bread, though. Mm-hmm. Okay, so...
Okay, well, now I know.
Exactly.
Now I know.
Any other hobbies, then?
Painting.
Painting. Mm-hmm. What do you
Yoga.
like? Oh, you're a yoga person. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. I have no balance because I'm minus a toe.
Yoga is hard, man. The stillness.
Yeah.
I'm such a go person to just be there in a pose for a long time.
We can always blame that on being extroverts.
Yes, definitely. That's exactly what it is.
All right. So again, just to tell us what you're coming up in 2022.
2022, we will be doing Suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Suspect starts in January, at the end of January, and then Into the Woods, both with Goodnight Theater Collective. So I'm really excited.
And we're excited.
Into the Woods, I believe, is April.
Okay. And I will be looking forward to those because of having seen you in Blood Brothers. And you just blew me away. And well, everybody did in that. It was just phenomenal. But Alexondrea Thong Vahn, thank you so much for taking time to be on the Dave Holly Hour.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been my pleasure.
It's been a blast.
And we'll do it again, I'm sure.
Yes, I would love to.
All right. And we'll be back to wrap up the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment. Ladies, when it's time to give your nails some love, get that extra special treatment from Quality Nails on South Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. Manicures and pedicures that look great and make you feel fantastic. Zaya and Tony provide professional care for your hands and feet, whether you just want the basics or an extra special look with added flair. Oh, and guys, it's okay to treat yourself too. Quality Nails. Call for an appointment. 605-334-1463.
From the Dipsy Doodle Studios at the world headquarters of Big D Entertainment, a 40-square-foot home studio in the middle of America, it's Dave Holly.
Thanks again, everybody. Certainly appreciate you listening, whether you just stream or whether you download. It's all greatly appreciated. Thanks for the things you do on social media, letting other people know about it, the shares, the likes, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's where you'll find us. And again, DaveHollyHour.com. You'll get links to stuff. You'll be able to do whatever you want, really. Okay, but what I want to do is give out my thank yous, not just to you for the listenerships, but also the guests on today's show. Mr. Andrew Reinartz and Sarah Larson from Arts South Dakota. See, this time I got it in the right order. And it's always a great pleasure running into Andrew. Recently met Sarah, and she's a firecracker and fun time as well. So great to have them, and they make a great tandem during an interview, don't they? Yeah. And then the always delightful Miss Alexondrea Thong Vahn. So thank you to all of them. Certainly appreciate it. And what's up for this weekend for yours truly? Tonight, Little Shop of Horrors at 7:30 in the Belbis Theater of the Washington Pavilion, being put on by Good Night Theater Collective. Oh, it's got a cool cast and some great people in the band. Looking forward to that. And if I'm not mistaken, beforehand, a couple of us are going to go down to Rayfeld's Art Gallery. Jerry Cook is the owner there. He and someone else both have exhibits, so the owner with an exhibit too. So good for them. And then speaking of art, Van Art's Studio on Saturday is going to have 3 artists and 3 photographers showing from 1 until 6 on Saturday. Now my regular day job means I work until 4 o'clock on Saturday, but we're going to get down there and catch that last hour of it. And then next week, Lisa Conlon is going to be on the show to talk about a dance program that she has coming up, and always enjoy having a conversation with her. And then a lady that I had on last year, but it was during COVID, so we had to do the Zoom thing, and I admire this young lady so much, Emily Wilson from Goodnight Theater Collective, from Sioux Empire Community Theater, now Premier Playhouse, from Improv Falls, and she is cast in the Mighty Corson Arts Players Holiday Show. Plus, she and I will be part of the Zach Dresch roast coming up, like a week after that or something. Or maybe it's even next week. No, week after. The 20th, I think it is, on Saturday the 20th. So that'll be a great conversation. We'll have lots to talk about. In the meantime, I've talked enough for the day. Thanks again for listening. I'm Dave Holly, and for me, every day is a holiday.
The Dave Holly Hour has been brought to you by the Sky Lounge and Tea, Xcel Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Hop Brewery Tours, and Jesse Moffett Entertainment. If you would like to contribute to the continued success of this podcast, go to davehollyhour.com. At the bottom of the front page is the additional links section. Click on the orange button, Dave Holly on Linktree. You can order merchandise, become a Dave Holly Hour VIP, and make contributions to the show. The Dave Holly Hour is produced in the Dipsy Doodle Studios by Big D Entertainment.
Thanks for listening.